Yes, this is your breaking Beatles news reporter on the scene of the action, and we are here to report wonderful, wonderful Beatle news in the afterglow of the now and then release, the final last Beatles song, which came out last week. And I am your reporter, Matthew Street. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Sorry, folks, I'm just so excited. I'm still pumped up. Yes, it's Tuesday, the following week after the big release of Now and Then, but folks, what an afterglow. And that's what I think I will title this video, the Now and Then Afterglow. Because folks, just some things I want to throw at you really quick before we get ready for this Friday with the release of the Red and Blue. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming, and I'm very excited about that as well. But I wanted to just do a little recap here. So last Wednesday, we got the 12-minute mini documentary, then leading up to the big release on Thursday, last Thursday of Now and Then, the final Beatles song. And I would say for the most part, things have been very, very positive. Yeah, you're going to get the naysayers, the negativity people, that nothing would make them happy, nothing would be good enough, something else is always better. You're not going to satisfy them. You never will. But for the most part, I would say, again, anecdotally, 90% of the people out there, the people talking about it, the news reports have been positive about the Now and Then release. And then, of course, last Friday, we got the big Peter Jackson directed video for Now and Then, which went over very well. Again, you get a couple of naysayers here and there, but for the most part, the vast majority of people loved Peter Jackson's video. And just some things I want to throw at you that I wrote down quick here. I don't have everything, I'm sure. But the big thing I want to tell you is that I was a little discouraged at first when I was first observing what other people were saying and doing, whether it be in YouTube or whatnot, that at first I saw a few people that just didn't get it. That, they would watch the video and listening to the song and doing their little reactions or whatever, or their little review videos. And I saw a few at first. Maybe I just hit it wrong because thank goodness it turned around later. But at first the vibe I was getting from some people, especially in the millennial generation, some of the younger people was they'd be watching the video and oh, what is this? This is aimed towards older people, right? This is for the older people. They were looking at it and just yeah, it's okay, but this is for old people. And I was they just seemed so clueless at first. And I'm sitting there watching them, and I had to turn some of these videos off because I was are you kidding me? The Beatles are the only artist that I can think of where multiple generations love them and appreciate their music. It's timeless. You get people that are older like me, even people older than me, that are in their 70s. I'm in my 60s. People in their 50s, people in their 40s. Millennials in their 30s love the Beatles. Younger people in their 20s. Teenagers, high school kids, college kids, even little children love the Beatles when they hear their music. So this runs a gamut. I have a grandson and a granddaughter who are 8 and 5 years old who have the Red and Blue albums on CD. Okay, and they love the Beatles. They love Beatles music. My sons love the Beatles. They're millennials. Okay, what I'm saying is, folks, this is a multi-generational musical artist here we're talking about. This isn't some run-of-the-mill thing here. So, I saw the naysayers at first, people that were confused, this is for old people, right? And no, it's not, because thankfully, as more information came in, and now you can't even escape it. If you put on YouTube now, last week when you might see a couple little smatterings of Beatle talk and whatnot, it's everywhere now. I mean, it's all over the internet. This thing has gone global. It's gone national, all over TV news reports, radio, newspapers, magazines are doing reports on this song. Everywhere on YouTube, it's people are all coming out of the woodworks that aren't even affiliated with music or the Beatles, and normally in their channels are doing Beatles talk on Now and Then and the last song and boo, 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 boo. So it's overwhelming. It's all over the place. It's global. And that's a good thing if you're a fan of the Beatles, because I don't think we've seen anything of this level since the anthology, maybe a little bit in 2014 when we hit the big 50th anniversary of their arrival in America. That was pretty huge. But this is big, folks. This is big, and I don't know if we'll ever see anything like this ever again as far as in the world of the Beatles. I think there will be future releases as far as, Rubber Soul Deluxe, maybe the early albums, maybe they'll work on other projects for the Beatles. I'm sure they will. But of this global scale, pop cultural, societal scale, no, this was huge. So anyway, I feel much better now seeing the growth, the swell, the build up to this. And it seems like a lot of people, because I think the song is outstanding. It's a fitting final single for the Beatles. The video is fantastic. Takes it to a whole other level when you see the video. Is this song the greatest Beatles song that was ever put together, produced, or released? No, of course not. But you know what? I was thinking it's just a fine little fitting conclusion, or tying the bow on the present, whatever you want to call it. Or as I said in the last video, Now and Then is the final third cherry on top of the cake of the Beatles. The beautiful, wonderful, delicious, tasty cake of the Beatles' career going back to 1962 with Love Me Do. Now and Then is that third cherry. We got Free as a Bird. That was one cherry. We got Real Love. And we never got the third cherry when the anthology came out. But now, 20-something years, 20-odd years later, we have Now and Then. That's all. It's the final little cherry on the cake. That's the way I look at it. Now, I saw a report on I think Joe Mayo did a report, Mr. Mayo, about Now and Then replaced Taylor Swift at #1 on Spotify. That was great news. Hey, even if it was only for a couple of few days or so, that's still big news for a group that hasn't been around for 53 years. And for them to put a song together with all four members on the recording and to displace Taylor Swift, who's like the biggest thing since sliced bread right now in the world of music, for even a few days on Spotify, kudos to the Beatles for that. It also Now and Then debuted on Rock and Alternative Rock Airplay chart after one day. This is a radio thing that began in 1981, a radio chart. And Free as a Bird made #8 on that chart, and Real Love made #16. We don't know where Now and Then is going to fall on this. I think it is put out by Billboard, I believe. The Rock and Alternative Airplay chart. We will see where it falls. No numbers yet on that. But if we get them in, report them, and we'll get it out to you. The Independent, which is in the UK, said that Now and Then is on track to top the singles chart after outselling the rest of the top 5 combined in its opening weekend. And it could be the Beatles' 18th #1 in the UK and its first in 54 years since Ballad of John and Yoko. And if I'm not mistaken, as I'm making this video, I think reports are starting to trickle in that yes, Now and Then, in fact, did make #1 in the UK. So that is great news for fans of the Beatles in the UK and Europe, and hopefully we'll see some similar action here in the United States. Per chart data, Now and Then reached #1 on the US iTunes chart. The Beatles, as of right now, have the most #1s in Billboard with 20. Will Now and Then be their 21st? Hard to say. I don't know how that's tracking, but they do have 20. And we all know that the Beatles are the highest selling act of all time musically, with an estimated 600 million in sales. And as a last little thing I want to give on stats and things here is that Rolling Stone, a magazine which I went off of years ago. I used to subscribe back up until the 80s, but let's not go there. Don't care for Rolling Stone anymore. But I will say they did say one nice thing that I agree with here, that Now and Then is the final masterpiece the Beatles deserve. So I'll take that from Rolling Stone, even though I don't care for them anymore. But beyond that, one last thing I want to report before I get out of here, folks, with the excitement, the afterglow of Now and Then coming out a few days ago, is I really felt so positive and hopeful when I interviewed and spoke to a couple of millennials, a couple of 30-somethings out there. And if you give me a moment and indulge me for a minute, I want to read these two things to you before I leave you. And I think this will give you a good warm feeling inside and put a smile on your face. The first individual was a younger 30s, early 30s, and said to me, when I asked about Now and Then, what you think of it. I genuinely enjoy it. Genuinely, not generally. Sorry, I genuinely enjoy it, and it has become quite the earworm. I found myself singing snippets of it throughout the day. While it's not Let It Be, that's okay, because it's not meant to be. Without delving too deeply, I interpret it, Now and Then, as the culmination of the ongoing musical conversation that John and Paul had over the years, both in and out of the Beatles. In a way, it's an inadvertent response from John to Paul's Here Today. It serves as the final Beatles song, but in my mind, the perfect conclusion of such a beautiful collaboration. So, what a great articulate response there. And then one more. This is from a later 30s individual who I spoke to and asked them about Now and Then, and this is what they had to say. I've listened to it, Now and Then, a bunch of times, and I think it's a very nice, beautiful sounding ballad. So much to love about it. John's voice sounds awesome. The strings give it an ethereal feel. And the mood is a nice mix of melancholy and hopeful. For me, it's a very good song. It's stuck in my head when I stop listening to it and do something else. If I wanted to nitpick, I wish they added a new verse or a bridge to fill it out as a song. Something more with Paul's stamp on it, like the middle part of A Day in the Life, though not that specifically. It would be hard for any new song to live up to the hype of what's happened with Now and Then. It would be very hard for that song standing alone to live up to that hype. People will probably be critical because it's not a lock for one of the Beatles' top songs ever recorded. But if Now and Then was a cut on one of their albums, I think most everyone would love it. That's a later 30s millennial. So folks, I am feeling so positive about the release of this song. I'm so happy that people of all ages are enjoying it and loving it, and the impact it's had on us today in this world. We needed something positive. We needed something hopeful. We needed a good, strong message, and the Beatles have delivered once again, folks. So now it's on to Friday, and looking forward to the red and blue. And I cannot wait to talk about that with you. Have a great rest of the week, folks, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.